Howdy, Homo sapiens. Today I want to talk about how to have meaningful and productive conversations with people you disagree with. It is so hard for most of us to engage with people that have such a different worldview than we do. In most cases, things get heated, things get disrespectful, and it all goes down in flames with both people walking away even more convinced of their beliefs and pissed off. It's such a waste of time. Now, I will say it is difficult to convince someone away from a strongly held belief, but if you can just introduce doubt into their thinking, that alone is a huge win. And it's not a bad thing to understand the workings of a belief that you don't hold. Who knows? If you're open-minded yourself, they might have something to teach you as well. This might be an opportunity for you to critically examine your beliefs. The most important thing to remember is that you are trying to create a conversational environment of exploration rather than combat. You want an environment of respect, listening, and understanding. You are signaling to them that you are not looking to dunk on them or humiliate them. You instead are honestly curious about how two moral and intelligent people can come to such different conclusions on the subject. What you and this other person are really doing is simply comparing notes that you both have been jotting down in your life. If you combine your notes, you both will have a better understanding of the truth. Trying to genuinely convince someone else is a completely different intellectual experience than arguing or debating. You're forced to dig deep, to think much more critically about your own belief. Talking points and slogans, which are the cannon fodder of arguments, are worthless. They do not convince people. Here are a few things that are essential for having a conversation with someone of a different worldview. When you're speaking to someone about their belief, it is essential that you trust them that they believe what they say they believe. While politicians and powerful people might have incentive to say they believe A, but they really believe B, the rest of us don't. If there's one thing that all Americans have in common, it's that we're very good at speaking our mind. If you can't trust someone that they believe what they say they believe, then the conversation is kind of pointless. Do not strawman them by assigning a more extreme belief than they have just because it's much more easy to shoot down a crazier belief than the one that seems a little more rational. Take the person at their word. Otherwise, you're talking past each other. The single fastest way that you can close someone's mind is to attack their character. If people sense that they're being regarded as foolish or immoral, why would they want to continue? Would you? They will either attack you back or just end the conversation. Either way, they're not going to change their mind and will probably just conclude that you're an asshole. Open-mindedness. This is by far the hardest one for all of us. But the good news is, in a conversation, open-mindedness is contagious. Trust me, the times that I've modeled this attitude, the other person always softens. It's much easier for someone to open their mind to your beliefs if they get a sense that you're open to theirs. So what does this look like? It starts with your attitude. You want to present yourself as someone who can't believe their belief because you haven't seen evidence that convinces you. This is very different than presenting yourself as someone who won't believe the belief because it is irrational or immoral. You want to understand, but you're missing the pieces. This puts the onus on them to provide the pieces and convince you, forcing them to critically examine their own belief to find that evidence and logic. For instance, saying something like, "Yeah, my problem with that point is the evidence I've seen doesn't convince me of it," as opposed to shaking your head and calling it bullshit. Separate them from their belief. Do your best to focus on the belief rather than the person. Saying, "I think that is wrong," is very different from saying, "You are wrong." Separate yourself from your belief. This is hard too. Most of us regard our belief as a part of our identity. For now, look at it as a place you have arrived at rather than the place you chose to go. You were led to your belief by the evidence. When you present your evidence, start with phrases like, "I read blank," or "I saw blank," or "I heard blank." First of all, it's honest. I mean, most of the things we know, we have read, seen, or heard, and usually from people that know more than us. But also, it might make them do the same, which makes it easier for you to be critical of their evidence rather than critical of them. Another hard one for all of us. First, very important, do not pretend to know something you do not know. If they ask a question and you don't know the answer, just simply say, I don't know. And then ask them if they know, but with genuine curiosity, not as a challenge. Now, they might see your admittance as scoring a point for them, but if you have been modeling open-minded behavior, then it will likely come off as honesty. They will trust you more for it, and you've just made it okay for them to say, I don't know. Always acknowledge when the other person makes a fair point, even if it's an obvious point, and even if you know it leads them to a conclusion you think is false. Just acknowledge, good point. If they strawman you and present a caricature of your argument back to you, say that you don't believe that belief, and then say why, how it is crazy, irrational, or too extreme. This earns you credit as a more rational person in their eyes, and will also make them take you at your word about your beliefs. The last thing, and this is absolutely crucial, is to make sure you're actually listening. Often you should verify that you understand them by repeating their statements back to them before you reply. You say, so you are saying, or if I understand you. This shows that you're listening, understanding them, and not projecting something onto them that they didn't say. It's another opportunity to show respect. People like to be heard, and clear communication is everything. In my experience, for a lot of people, this approach is kind of jarring at first. They'll come roaring out of the gate in combat mode. But if you maintain respect, they'll adjust to this new environment and realize very quickly that you aren't like the other people who believe what you do. We're also used to combat with people of different beliefs. But when I've been successful, it's such a better experience, and me and the other person walk away with at least more understanding of the topic and of the opposing view. And isn't that worth a conversation? For those interested, I want to recommend a book which informed this video quite a bit, called How to Have Impossible Conversations by Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay. It's a great resource if you're interested in talking to people with strongly held beliefs different from yours. I hope this helps you at your next family Thanksgiving or barbecue. But what do you think? Have you had any luck in changing someone else's mind? If so, how do you do it? Or have you had a good conversation where someone changed your mind? Let me know below. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, stay doubtful. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. There's a lot more topics we can explore.